Now to this, we're seeing newly released photos of then Vice President Biden and Hunter Biden meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping and his son's Chinese business partners during a 2013 trip to Beijing. The photos proving Biden lied about never discussing business with his son.
I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Well, he said never. Could this be the reason why the president issued a blanket pardon to his son right before leaving office? You know, Lisa, when these stories started coming out years ago and we heard laptop and everything else that kind of went along with that, all they kept saying was this is Russia interference. This is obviously Russia planting this information. But the only people that seem to be having some interference in our voting process is the Biden family by not being truthful with the American people.
Yeah, I mean, well, also, Joe Biden is a prolific liar. He has always been. He's one of the biggest liars in American history, and he's also going to go down as one of the most corrupt. I mean, how corrupt is it to sell out your fellow Americans to make a dime, to make a buck off of us, right, and the offices that you hold? We know we have these photos because America First Legal through litigation against the National Archives and Records Administration, but we've long known that this is the game of the Biden family. Mike Lawler, Representative Mike Lawler on CNN made a great line in trying to explain the corruption of the Biden family, talking about how a Chinese company transferred money to a shell company owned by some of the family members. That was then transferred to another shell company owned by some of the Biden family members. And then it went into the personal account of some of those Biden family members who then wrote a check, $40,000 to Joe Biden's personal account. So, you know, there you have it and sort of how this worked. We also know previously that Joe Biden threatened to withhold U.S. money to get the prosecutor general in Ukraine who was investigating Burisma Holdings. We know that this blanket pardon that he issued his son dating back to January of 2014. Oh, guess what? The same year he joined Burisma Holdings. It's like, how much evidence do we need to know what the Biden family was up to, that they're selling us out to make money? The media lied to us, and they've been lying to us. Well, another piece of evidence.
Well, Guy, Lisa just kind of talked about this. It's not like these pictures were just found. In fact, the Biden family knew that they existed. They've been held up in litigation, and it was only until after the election that they finally were released. What kind of like democratic favoritism is this?
Well, it actually reminds me of something that happened a number of years ago. We found out that there was, and bear with me here, there was a photograph of former President Barack Obama, then a U.S. Senator, and Louis Farrakhan, who is a vile, bigot, racist, anti-Semite. And big grinning photo of Obama with this hate monger. The journalist who took that photograph on Capitol Hill in 2005 now admits years later that he buried the photo to make sure it would not see the light of day for 12 years. Barack Obama was a rising star in Democratic politics. This guy made sure that the American people didn't see this during his campaign or his presidency. And then after he was out of office, now we see the photo, and here we have something that we were gaslit about. Oh, this isn't true. This Biden family stuff is all a right-wing conspiracy theory. Here's yet another piece of evidence, photographic evidence, and when do we get it? After Joe Biden is already a lame duck.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Tom, do you think there'll be any consequences after this photograph, or just another thing?
No, I don't think so. And it's because we've had other photographs. Remember that famous one of them on the golf course with the Burisma guys? And, you know, and we've had plenty of evidence. And we had Tony Bobulinski on this network talking about his, you know, the big guy. And we have the email chain and everything else. So one more photograph isn't going to make any difference. But, you know, it's almost as if when you look at this and you're like, he was so brazen about the way he did it and kind of sloppy. And I think it's because we tend to look the other way when ex-presidents and vice presidents go off and make a fortune, and we just let them do that. And he thought he was on his way out. He didn't think he was coming back in because everybody thought Hillary was going to win. And then Trump won, and then Joe got back in the business, and then he said, oh, boy, I better cover my tracks. And the mainstream media said, hold my beer.
But see, I feel like a lot of these people make money, they capitalize off of it after they leave political office. He did it while he was in.
Right.
Yeah.
Continue to do.
That's what makes it so bad.
Family. Well, they called him the big guy for a reason.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.